Newsflash, Robert.
Yes.
Real estate chat viewers and anybody looking to enter the market, you might miss rock bottom soon.
Or you might have missed rock bottom lately.
Already?
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows on this episode. Well, we might know on this episode of Real Estate Chat with
Johnder Perez.
and Robert Eid. We're going to be dissecting the spring market even more, and we might even discover that we've hit rock bottom or rock bottom has passed, or we might start to see rock bottom. And so everybody wants you to buy a house all of a sudden. But anyway, Robert, we're going to start with there's two things I'm going to share
Yeah.
with our real estate chat viewers who have liked and subscribed. The first thing is this report. This came out a couple of days ago. By the time this episode airs, it's even older than that. But it's the RBC Mr. Hogue report about early signs of a housing market upturn emerging across Canada. No surprise, Robert's commented on this many times because in the spring, typically prices do go up. So it's not really a surprise to any realtor, and it shouldn't be for any real estate chat viewer either who's watching us. But one of the forecasts has annual prices falling 1% nationwide. Okay, this is not Toronto, so don't be scared. Toronto, not even Vancouver. 2024 dropping 1% before rising 3.1% next year. So that's something we've got to look forward to. But jump over to CP24, and their headline is Housing Prices Expected to Hit Bottom in Toronto this spring, says an RBC report. And they talk about the potential upside of the market here in Toronto. And so basically, look, average selling price of a Toronto home across all property types peaked at 1.3 million. You remember those times, February 2022, before dipping about close to 30%, let's call it 1.037, if I did my math correctly. And now we're about to see the bottom of this market. So the media is telling us to buy a house, I guess.
Okay. Average prices across Canada mean absolutely nothing, but they are a barometer of the absolute nothing, whether it's up or it's down from a year ago or 10 years or whatever. The Toronto Real Estate Board puts out a monthly report on prices that have happened, and we get a breakdown of various types and in various big areas. And we are currently down close to 30% from the very, very peak of the market that happened in Toronto. Now, is that something that happened in January and it's going to be corrected in February or March? Maybe. It should be low in December, January, and cheaper houses, lower priced homes sell in January and December. We've just come through that period. What will the spring be? That's really what the question that all of these people are saying. And if you're a buyer, you want to be smarter than the average bear. You want to be a little bit too smart. You want to buy in anticipation of a boom. You want to buy just before, you want to buy right at the very bottom. You can't do that because you may be looking into buying in a market that has never fallen. And so it doesn't matter what happens in condos in Scarborough or in townhouses in Brampton, just doesn't matter whether there's been an ebb and a flow. If you want to buy something where people live in those houses and there's nothing is really deteriorated from the peak. It's just the same as it's always been. If you want to live in North Toronto, or you want to live in Forest Hill, or you want to live in the middle of North York, where prices maybe haven't, they've gone down $100,000, but nothing like the average, then you're already too late because the bad news was last year. Now we're getting good news.
Mhm.
And I think it's better to be buy after the peak or after the bottom because now you're on the way up. If you bought just before, then you say, oh, I got to go through a little bit of trauma before things brighten up. So,
Of course, talking about this, Robert, ever since we've started this channel, you and I have told our real estate chat community to do what's right for them, to work within their budget, knowing that real estate is long term. We've talked about your stories, we talked about my parents' stories, we talked about my stories, and so was it ever really wrong for anybody who had purchased after peak? I mean, at peak is a different story because you've got to weather the storm a bit longer than most who have bought either on the way down or at the very bottom. But I guess the long-term view whether you attribute it to inflation, whether you attribute it to supply demand, they're not building land or real estate anymore, the famous saying goes, or whether you attribute it to population growth, is that at any point that you buy, as long as it's the house for you, as Robert, you've been preaching, you can't really make a mistake, can you?
Well, in 20 years, it'll always be the smartest thing you ever did. The other thing, if you bought on February the 15th of 2022 and you got yourself a 5-year mortgage for 2.2%, you still have that 2.2% mortgage, and you're going to have it till 2027. You still got some more time to go. Your monthly payments, even though you paid 1.33, are lower than somebody who buy it for 1.1 and is paying, the 5-year lock seems cheaper, but it's expensive. The 1-year, 2-year money is more expensive, 7%, qualifying it higher than that. So it's about monthly payments, and it's about the long-term view, just like you were saying, John. In a while, we'll look back and say it was a blip. So
There you go.
we can't have dramatic, wonderful, hot stories to fill the newspapers with good news or bad news every single day, because things just don't work that fast. But if you are, and well, here's the other thing about if you paid the top price on February the 15th, 2022, you probably sold something. You probably sold something and you got a huge money for that. You couldn't get that money for it now, but you still got the interest rate financing in at a very low rate. And so it's a trade-off between
Well, the
interest rates
only
and prices, that the inverse relationship, if you paid high, then your rate's low. Right now, you're going to pay lower, but your rate's higher. Which one's worse? Well, you want to have less debt, but you got to still make the monthly payment. So we don't want to be too much philosophy about everything is great in the future. You got to live right now. If your job is secure, maybe you're going to do nothing. Maybe you're going to take the biggest gamble of your life. If you just had twins, maybe you got to do something. If your mom and dad just came from Hamilton, they're going to live with you from now. You got to do something. So, like everything across Canada, statistics are not important to one family living here with now 2 new members that have joined. So, like that's who we deal with, one family at a time.
And I guess is just to, I guess, soothe or pacify the masses, because I mean, as you like, I mean, you got to look at individual neighborhoods and you've got to look at your individual situations and what you're going through. And as what we've always preached, as long as you're doing the right thing, you're budgeting properly, you're working your purchase within your means, and you're buying a home that you actually like, that's what matters the most. And if you want to keep on renting and that's what you want to do, that's fine too. I mean, that's you do what's right for you. However, prices will be up in 20 years, and 20 years from now, what you're buying today is going to be worth a lot more. This goes without saying. Leave us your comments, what you think about this report, and what your thoughts about, or what your sentiment is about the current real estate market. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask as well in the comments. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye for now.
See you later.